Hey, what's going on everyone? Eric here. Hope you're all doing good. Today we're going to be reviewing the Sette series from Baratza. Before I do that, just take a quick second, give me a like, subscribe, comment. That would be awesome. You can comment, I love coffee grinders, and yes, thank you. Okay. I will mention that I have affiliate links down below for these products and others. I earn a commission on those, though it's at no cost to you. So if you do decide to look at these or purchase these or any other accessories that I might have linked down there, then you can check that out. That supports the channel. Thank you. All right, so grinders. Grinders have been going nuts in the past few years. Home baristas, home espresso, this kind of stuff has exploded. And if you've been around the block a few times like me, then you will know that there weren't as many options before. But now we have, of course, tried and true brands like Baratza. We have other brands that are kind of making a name for themselves as trusted people in the brand like Fellow. We have smaller kind of upstarts that are from overseas, like the Me Coffee, Turin kind of family of coffee grinders, Niche Zero. Grinders, 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 grinders everywhere. People arguing about grinders, what's the best grinder? Okay, you have options, they're very affordable. Do your research before you buy a grinder. Now, all these grinders have their own strengths, they have their own weaknesses, but I want to revisit an old faithful option, which is Baratza and their Sette series of grinders. I know they're not everyone's cup of tea, but I think there is still something to be said for them. Like most of the gear that I review on this channel, I bought my Sette used, and I think that is one of the reasons that I really want people to consider them, because you will find these things popping up on Facebook Marketplace and other places like that. You will find them on eBay all over the place. There are used Settes to be had if you're patient. And when you can get it used, you're getting an amazing value for a grinder that is infinitely repairable. And that might be the biggest strength of a Baratza grinder, is every single part from top to bottom, inside, outside, you can buy. So no matter what happens to this grinder, you can repair it, you can improve it. That's really cool. Now, that's not for everybody, but I think I like that. Now, the first thing to know about the Sette series, there's the 30, there's the 270, and then there's the 270 WI. They are more or less the same grinder. They have the same chassis on the outside, they have the same burr set, they have the same hopper. The difference is how many settings you have for your grind, and whether or not it has a weighing mechanism, and whether or not you have more than one preset for your grind. So basically, you're just getting kind of like the same machine, and then you can get better or another version of better. But hang on to that thought, because even if you do get the 30, you have more options than just the 30 settings. First of all, let's talk about the design. The Sette, that means 7, and that's because it is shaped like the number 7. You get a 300-gram hopper on every model. Now, grinders with hoppers are not necessarily in fashion, but I will say that because this has a time doser, getting within 0.1 seconds of accuracy, and you can set that up with your home scale to be in the range that you want to be in, and I can tell you that it is very, very close. So if you set it to be 18 grams for at 10 seconds, you're going to find that it's going to hit between 17.9, 18.1, 18.2-ish every time. That's pretty good. So that it's a hopper grinder, it helps stay accurate. Take it or leave it. However, even if you don't like the hopper, you're going to find a lot of aftermarket single dosing hoppers out there with bellows, and Baratza themselves recently released a hopper that is for single dosing with the Sette series. Now, though this guy has a very small base on the bottom, measuring at just about 6 inches on the bottom by about 4.5 inches across, it is tall when you have the hopper on there. So we're talking about 16 inches tall, 15.75 to be exact. If you had the single dose hopper on there, you would be looking at something more like 13 inches tall. So it is a tall grinder with the hopper on there, but has a very small foot base. However, when you get to the top where it kind of bells out, we're adding about 10 inches of depth. So unique design, very tall, might not fit underneath everyone's countertops. So what's it made out of? It is a very plasticky grinder. It is plastic, top, bottom, sides. It is a plastic grinder. Everything but the actual burr holder is plastic. Though it is made out of plastic, I will say that it is solid. It's not a cheap plastic, it's not a thin plastic. It's no matter how hard you squeeze it, it's not gonna bend or give or anything like that. So it is plastic, but it is a strong plastic. Doesn't make it better for being plastic, but it is what it is. Plastic grinder. What you get here is a 40mm conical burr set. That is pretty unique because rather than the central burr spinning like most conical burrs, the actual outside burr spins. So what you get from that is a very, very fast grind time with very, very little retention. The retention, in my experience, was like something like 0.1, 0.2 grams. Some people have measured it closer to 0.5 grams. I don't know if it just depends on how often you're actually cleaning your grinder and things like that. But I will say that the retention is low. I think that the retention is passable. And if you had a single dose hopper with the bellows, I bet it's even lower. So, very, very low retention. There's really nowhere for it to get stuck in here. It just goes right through. It is fast. It is super fast. When you compare this to another 40mm conical burr grinder, you're gonna find the speeds are like half. Now, a fellow Opus is a 40mm conical burr grinder, and it's pretty slow. We're talking like 20-ish, 25 seconds to get through 18 grams. This guy right here, well, ready, set, go. 6 seconds. 18 grams in 6 seconds. That is fast. The burr speed, when it has no load in there, is clocked at 650 rotations per minute. So 650 RPM, external rotation speed. Right in the middle, pretty good. As far as the grind consistency goes now, we're talking a very fluffy, very consistent grind. Really no clumps, just a very fluffy, airy espresso grind that I have no complaints about at all. And as far as the way it runs on espresso, it's great, it tastes good. It's kind of typical of what you hear a lot of people describe conical burrs as, though there's no real way to say conical burrs taste like this and flat burrs taste like that. These are conical burrs and they are designed for kind of that medium roast kind of flavor profile. So you're going to get a lot of smooth, sweet roundness, a lot more of the chocolate kind of notes of espresso. It's not highlighting as much of the acidic notes. You're not gonna get as much clarity on that end. So if you are looking for that to highlight those citrusy, acidic notes, this is not going to do it for you. That's just not the way the burrs are designed. However, as far as that richness, that kind of baker's chocolate, that sweetness is going to give you a very dessert-like espresso. And with medium light roast and light roast, it still does taste very, very good. I still get those very nice highlights of citrusy things. It's just not as clear and as pronounced as it is with some other grinders. On any of these models, you can adjust your portafilter holder to be for portafilter, or you can put it wider and have it fit a catch cup. If you're using 58mm or 54mm portafilters, you can also adjust the rubbers on this guy just a little bit to be higher or lower, which is nice. And this little portafilter holder here, if you want to move it out of the way for cleaning or for just don't want it there, because you maybe have a little funnel, a portafilter funnel, you can just push this down and then slide it over and it gets out of the way very easily. Everything works really, really well and works as it should. It's a very, very nice holder system. Another thing about the build, the way it looks, is I just want to mention that it has a very dooky, heavy-duty power cord. It does disconnect for storage, so that's cool, but this is a big, heavy-duty power cord. So really, really quick, we're going to talk about the differences between the three models and what you get and what you don't get. So with the 30, you're going to get 30 macro settings. And this is very clearly a machine designed for espresso. With a 30, you get basically settings, about 7 of those settings-ish, are in the espresso range. And I mean that if you're between dark roast and very, very light roast, you're gonna find 7 of those are going to be useful. If you're just doing very, very light roasts, you're gonna only find like 2, 3, or 4 of those are in the range. Same thing with dark roast, medium roast. The whole spectrum is within those 7 settings. So not a lot of settings. You're going to get 1 timed setting for a time dose, And beyond that, that's basically the bells and the whistles. A lot of people will say that that is not enough settings for espresso, and that is true. That is not a lot of settings for espresso. However, they are in range, and you probably will find that one of them is good for a regular medium roast espresso. I think that the reason that I'm okay with the 30 at where it is because it's very, very simple. The actual quality of the burrs, the quality of the grind consistency, the quality of the grind is very, very good. So you're going to get, for $300 new, a grinder that will be awesome to learn on. If you're starting out in espresso, there's not too much to play with, there's not too much to, you're gonna say, 5 is too fast, so I'm gonna go down to 4, and that's going to slow it down. And that will basically give you the confidence to learn to dial in. And the cool thing is that once you have the basics down, and let's be honest, not everybody here is drinking their espresso straight. If you're drinking espresso with milk, I think that the 30 grind settings, with only about 6 or 7 of them in the espresso range, are probably good enough where you're not going to notice it in a latte. As you progress as an espresso maker, you can upgrade the 30 to have the 270 adjustment ring, and therefore giving you the full range of settings. So let's talk about the 270 now. What's the difference between the 30 and the 270? Well, you get a second adjustment ring, and you get 3 timed settings. So you could have one setting for a single dose, one setting for a double dose, and one setting for, like, I don't know, a V60 or something like that. The biggest difference between the 30 and the 270 is the grind settings. You're jumping from 30 possible grind settings, like I said, only like 6-ish of them are in the espresso range, 6 or 7 of them, to a secondary adjustment ring on the bottom, which is stepless. So they have little letters on here from A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. So you have your 30 initial settings with clicks, and then you have a stepless with 9 indicators. So you basically are expanding each one setting times 9. All in all, you have approximately 270 settings. More like you have more than that because it's actually 31. Anyway, so you have a lot more settings, and though they call it 270, it's kind of a misnomer because the secondary adjustment ring, your micro adjustments, are stepless. It doesn't have to be on E or F. You have everything in between. So it's really more like infinite settings. And this combination of stepped with stepless is something that I really like, believe it or not, because it's really intuitive. You know, if your shot is just running a little, like a second, too fast, you can just do a little tiny twist. But if if it's way off, you can do a whole click. It just is a really, really great way of, once you get the knack of it, just quickly and very, very quickly making adjustments. You know that you're going to get 3 or 4 seconds up top. You know you're going to get tiny little half-second increments on the bottom. You also, it just works really, really well for me, and I like that because another good thing about it is it's really easy to keep track. If you were jumping between different beans, you can really keep track of a 5H, and then note that, put it on a piece of note paper, and then jump over to, I don't know, 6A or something, whatever. I'm just saying that with these numbers and letter combination, it's very, very easy to keep track of your settings, and it's also really, really easy to jump between espresso and filter if you were to do so. Now, the 270 WI is the same Sette 270, but we're adding on a built-in scale by Cade. Now, Cade is the best scale maker in espresso as far as I know, or at least they are the best established. They make very, very accurate scales, and that is just built into the portafilter holder. Big jump up in price. Adding on that beautiful Cade grind by weight system, you have 3 settings that you're going to have it grind by weight. It will tire automatically whatever portafilter you put in there. If you find that it's starting to lose its accuracy, you just have to double click the stop button, I believe, and then it's going to recalibrate itself. And usually within 2 or 3 doses, it's found its calibration. It's going to be very, very accurate. If you notice it's starting to slip, you just tell it to recalibrate itself again, but I found that it doses really, really well for day to day. I think for $400, the 270 is very, very worth it, especially if you can find a used model. You're getting a high-performing, accurate, well-built espresso grinder, and if you can find a deal on it used, it's great. Though it is definitely worth $400 just because of the, it is a good grinder. It might not be everybody's cup of tea, but it is a good grinder. Definitely cool. 270 WI at the price tag. as it is, brand new and not on sale, you know, $600, that's a lot of money. If you found it on a deal or found it used, grind by weight is a pleasure. It just makes everything so much easier, makes your workflow so nice. I really, really like it. I just think that it just makes my whole espresso making routine a dream, just so much faster and easier. Like I mentioned before, it is a little bit messy, and the negative here is if you're doing the grind by weight, because of the way that it hooks in here, you wouldn't be able to put your espresso funnel, your portafilter funnel on your portafilter, I don't think, and though I haven't tried. And that makes it like, you know, it just makes it harder to groom. So there's that. Let's talk about the negatives of the Sette series. The biggest negative is that I've heard a lot of reports, and of course, I think it's the minority of people, but of course, if you had this experience, you'd be pretty upset and vocal about it too. Some of these have faulty gearboxes time to time. Now, that's a big deal. The gearbox is basically, it's what makes everything work. If you have a faulty gearbox, Baratza will take care of it. They will either send you the part and tell you how to fix it, which speaks to their amazing customer service, but I'm gonna get into that in a little bit, or you can send it back to them and they will fix it for you. That being said, I do believe it's a minority of people who have this problem. However, that sucks. If that happens to you, you would be mad, you'd be pissed, because you don't want to buy a brand new grinder and have the gearbox fail. No, that wouldn't be good. Even if it's 1 out of every 100, that sucks. Next negative is that it's loud. Baratzas are loud, there's no getting around it. They are some of the loudest grinders for home. If you're trying to make espresso quietly in the morning, not happening. If you're trying to have a conversation while you're grinding, not happening. But like I said, it's loud for 6 seconds. Now this is not just the Sette series. This is most all-purpose grinders tend to not be good at being all-purpose. But I will say that for most coffee nerds out there, most people who are really, really into coffee, they find that the second half of the settings that are for V60 drip coffee are just not good, don't produce a good cup of coffee. I would say that if you're looking for an all-purpose grinder and you're not the kind of person who drinks light roasts and really, really thinks about the flavors, it's good enough. I think that if you are a coffee nerd and you really, really care about the way that you're breaking down the flavors when you take a sip of coffee, you're cupping that thing, you're looking at the tasting notes, you're like, where's that apricot, where's that biscuit, where's that lavender? This is not a good grinder for that. This is a good grinder for medium roast and dark roast filtered coffee, light roast filtered coffee. You're not gonna find the nuances you want. It's just gonna get too muddy. It's great for espresso. I would even say it's okay for AeroPress. I would say once you hit the V60 level of coarseness, then it starts to lack. Overall, however, the strength it has for being an all-purpose grinder compared to other grinders that are all-purpose is it's just super easy to jump between the settings. It just goes right across. Another negative is that if you buy this thing new, you will have to shim it. You're gonna have to add some shims to make sure that the actual burrs are where they need to be aligned for espresso fineness. That sounds complicated. It's very, very easy. This is one of the easiest grinders to take apart and to clean and to maintain out there. You just twist this and it comes off. It comes with an Allen key when it's new and the shims, so you can do that. That being said, if you're not the kind of person who likes a project, if you're not the kind of person who likes to be hands-on with equipment, you're not gonna like that. You're gonna want things set up. But that is a negative if that is not for you. Another negative is that, like I said, if you're using something smaller than a 58 millimeter, it is a little messy unless you are not using the portafilter holder. If you are just going to hold it under there and you're going to be using a funnel, it's probably less messy, but it is a little bit messy. Not crazy messy, but just enough where, it is a little messy. Fortunately, this little guy just pops off and that will be most of your cleanup, though it is definitely, I'm not going to lie, there is a little bit of grinds here. Take it as it is. Just want to make a real quick case for Baratza, why I am a fan of Baratza as a company itself. They have amazing customer service, though they are getting bigger and more popular all the time, and their response time has gone down a little bit. If you email them, they will email you back. Right now I found that the first initial contact when you email them the problem That takes about 5 days. After that, once they have your case open, they're gonna respond, that same day. That's for email. By phone, they usually call you back the next day. So they're very, very good with that. And they will stay on the phone with you as long as it takes to repair your product. So that is great. And I know that from experience. The first time they were on the phone with me, talking me through a lot of stuff and emailing me, sending me links to see visuals, and I thought that was awesome. They're really committed to their products, even their cheapest ones. Another thing about Baratza that I really, really love, and this is the same thing, is that they make all of their parts available. Every single part, from the hopper lid to the chassis to the internal parts to the electrical parts, everything is available to you right from their website, and you can buy it piecemeal, bit by bit. So anything that wears out, anything that you want to fix is available as compared to other brands, newer established brands that are based overseas. I don't know how their customer service is, and I don't know if you can repair the things if they ever break. I know that you can repair this. I know that you can fix this. Now, I'm not trying to trash any other grinders. I'm just trying to say that, can you fix them yourself? Can you get the parts easily? Will you have the information available easily and someone to talk to if you need to fix it? I don't know. Baratza has that all for you. I just want to also talk about, as far as the Sette 30, like I said, if you wanted to upgrade it, you can buy the 270 adjustment ring from Baratza. It costs about $90, and then you can just install that yourself, and boom, boom, you have a 270 minus some programmable settings. But if you were to find the Sette 30 used online for a steal, then you got that adjustment ring. Boom, stepless grinder, basically stepped plus stepless grinder, amazing grinder. That's pretty much one of my favorite things to tell people. Or if you want to get the Sette 30 and learn the basics, and then eventually when you feel comfortable, upgrade it to the 270, that would be cool too. I think it's just a great gateway grinder, a great way to learn the basics and then basically have infinite possibilities after that. Just a little bit more talking shop about the Baratza Sette series. A lot of people have done things to compare to the Niche Zero as far as in grind quality. They are both conical burr grinders. They both have relatively low retention. Lance Hedrick has made a really cool video comparing the two. I will link it right up on one of these corners here. So check that out if you're interested. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I hope I made a convincing case for why this grinder is still relevant, how it's repairable, how there's a lot of used ones out there that you can buy and fix up or use or upgrade on your own. I think they are really, really good grinders, and I hope that helped you out. If you've had one and you've had good experiences, please leave a comment. Negative experiences, leave a comment. So maybe I've gotten lucky on my used one, but it's given me no trouble. I'll see you later. Thank you. Bye-bye.